G'day everyone and welcome to Inside Rugby. My name is Mark. If you haven't been here before, I'm a Kiwi rugby fan living in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. A lot of politics going on here at the moment in Mexico. We've got a general election coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and for the first time since I've been living here, I'll be experiencing this election process. And the news is we're going to have a new president of Mexico, and it's going to be a lady. Because both parties are running their main candidate as a lady this time, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes on. Now, away from the politics in Mexico, I'm going to turn to the politics in New Zealand rugby. And it's been an absolute shambles out of New Zealand in the last week. We've had the New Zealand Rugby Players Association sending a very distraught letter to the New Zealand Rugby Union saying they're going to bring the game into disrepute by setting up a new governance structure if New Zealand Rugby Union doesn't conform to some of the things that they've been asking for in the master plan for New Zealand rugby. Now, as a Kiwi rugby fan, I'm embarrassed by what's going on in New Zealand at the moment, because grown men and ladies can't sit around a table and sort this out for the goodness of the game. And here we are about to celebrate in Europe this weekend the Champions Cup final between Leinster and Toulouse, and the showboating of fantastic rugby that's been played across Europe at the moment. And here we are in New Zealand, and we're having political fights, we're having legal battles when it comes to the structure of rugby in New Zealand. And this is simply not the New Zealand rugby that I remember from generations gone by, and it's absolutely a sad thing to see. So instead of being a world leader in rugby on and off the field, the Kiwis are really dropping the ball on this one. And I hope, for the sake of the game, for the young kids and everybody involved in the game in New Zealand, that this can get sorted out really quickly. I've always said that politics in sport is a bad thing, and this is a political situation between two organisations in New Zealand rugby that's not thinking clearly enough about the big picture, in my opinion. And the big picture is that rugby in New Zealand needs to make changes for the better. The Rugby Players Association have put forward their case. The Rugby Union are standing pretty strong and saying they're going to put it to the vote, which is coming up at the general meeting on the 30th of this month. But if some of those terms are not met for the Rugby Players Association, we could see a ludicrous situation where the All Blacks and the other black jersey teams within the New Zealand Rugby Union are not actually playing this year. Wouldn't that be an absolute disaster? However, I don't think it's going to get to that. I think sensibility will prevail in the end. Now, whilst I'm making a video about this particular topic, there was a person in New Zealand that wrote a post the other day that I read that I thought was very well articulated about this situation in New Zealand. I've put it on the screen now for you to read, because it basically sums up how many of us feel about what's going on in New Zealand rugby. And it doesn't matter if we're a Kiwi rugby fan living on the other side of the world. I grew up in a rugby union environment within New Zealand that was all about the players and the well-being of the sport, and we seem to have lost track of that. We've got this $3.5 billion investment from Silver Lake that's come in recent years, and this has all of a sudden created an additional political environment within New Zealand rugby. It needs to be sorted out for the good of the game, and as that person just wrote in their post, I couldn't agree with them more. The egos need to be left at the door, and people need to start thinking about the bigger picture of what rugby really means to its community across New Zealand. So if you've got an opinion about what's going on between the New Zealand Rugby Players Association and the New Zealand Rugby Union, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to read your opinion on it. As far as I'm concerned, I just want to see this thing resolved in the best way for New Zealand rugby to continue on forward, and for all the kids and everybody else that's inspiring to come through and make the game great again in New Zealand. We've definitely lost traction over the years, both on and off the field. That needs to be sorted out. We need to get... Now, like with any organisation, you need to have the right people in the right jobs, and it doesn't seem to be the case in New Zealand rugby at the moment, that we have the right people running the game in New Zealand, and that's why we find ourselves in this particular situation. So I hope it's resolved very quickly, because once again we've got to get New Zealand rugby back to where it was. So not only can we compete on the field, but we've also got sustainability into the game for the future well-being of the game at all levels, for all genders across our beautiful country. So there we go, a quick one today on the state of the rugby in New Zealand. It's not good news. So there we go, that's it for this quick video on this topic. If you want to stick around here on Inside Rugby, the best way to do it is to hit the subscribe button. Plenty more fantastic rugby videos coming out shortly. We've got the Champions Cup final coming up this weekend between Leinster and Toulouse, being played at the Tottenham Stadium in London. And then we start the build up to all the fantastic internationals that are going to be happening over the next few months. So you're going to be able to get all my thoughts on the previews and reviews of all those games right here on Inside Rugby. So I hope you stick around for that. Until next time, it's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Stay well, stay safe everyone, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye for now.